Izuku gripped onto Toya in Miriko's hands for dear life, taking slow steps into the infirmary. He knew he was probably being dramatic. It's not like Katsuki could exactly fight back right now. Izuku had just been here because there was nowhere else to go. Since half of his official guardians worked at UA, and Mirako decided to come back in today to help Hawks train Toya and Toga, then everyone had to run off while Izuku was left standing awkwardly in a random hall of UA, wandering around until he eventually ran into Toya. Watching as Kachan was carried through the hallway with a bloody face, Izuku held back a laugh. Now he was standing by Katsuki's bed, the blonde still out cold, and his face wrapped, holding his jaw in place, making his cheeks look all puffy and red. Not so scary now, right? Mirako asked carefully, Izuku not daring to take his eyes off the possible enemy. All exit points were listed in his mind: two windows, one door for the hallway, and a second door leading to Recovery Girl's office. There wasn't many weapons at hand except for two knives currently strapped to Izuku's thighs, under his sweatpants. There were some needles that can be accessible, and this was a medical area after all, meaning he can get his hands on a scalpel or... Izuku? Toya shook his hand a little bit. Still with us? Izuku nodded softly and leaning a little closer to Katsuki, staring down at his face, and it felt like he discovered something he couldn't be. His face was so calm. Izuku never seen him wear that expression like that before. I thought Katsuki would was supposed to be the best. He spoke quietly as a smile spread on Miriko's face. Well, this is proof that not everyone's perfect, ain't that right? Apparently the little blonde runt knocked him out with one punch, Toya snorted. That was what Hitoshi told me. His name was Kaminari, I think. Izuku pulled back and let go of the hands he was holding, instead unknowingly rubbing the burn scar on his torso, convincing himself unconsciously that it was still burning. It wasn't until he began to scratch at his rough skin that Toya tugged his hand away from his body, not letting go. You could kick his ass, Miriko said with a shrug. I'd say go for it. Kick his ass? No, well, yes, but that's not what I meant. I mean, start going to class and enjoying it. Fuck this guy. Seems his classmates aren't too fond of him either, meaning that they'll surely defend you. I don't need anyone to defend me. Izuku spat, despite knowing what Miriko meant. And she was right. He couldn't cower in fear for the rest of his life. Yet, what if he had another freakout? What if he did something irreversible? Something so regrettable that'll ruin his life? Well, to be fair, his life was ruined a long time ago. Be friends with the blonde runt, Toya pointed out, because apparently he can knock out people with one punch. Would you let that go? Miriko rolled her eyes. Maybe it was a fluke. Toya shrugged. Don't care. A money shot's still a money shot. I'll go to school. Izuku turned a pointed finger in Toya's face. If you can talk to your younger brother. Toya grimaced and turned away. I've been trying, you little shit. He's avoiding me. He's probably just nervous, Miriko cried. So put on your big boy pants and take charge. I know, I really need to talk to him. My other siblings, especially Natsu, had some freaking nasty things said about Shoto, and I don't understand. Nasty things? Miriko raised an eyebrow. Like what? I think Toya frowned deeply, his staples bending with emotion. I think Natsu hates Shoto. For some reason, my siblings blame Shoto for what happened to me. Izuku's brow furrowed together as his eyes stayed on Katsuki. Manipulation, probably? Manipulation? Of what? Do, do you think Endeavor was going to take the, the blame? Obviously, he somehow deflected it to your younger brother. Toya scratched his head in thought as Izuku leaned forward and poked the side of Katsuki a little too aggressively. The boy stirred ever so slightly, but not waking. I wonder why I freaked out so bad, Izuku whispered. I think it was more of his reaction than him actually being there, if that makes sense. Miracle hummed. Probably caught you off guard. Not really. I knew Katsuki would be there, so why'd you freak out? Toya mumbled. You were fine at USJ even when he was there, so what happened? Izuku rubbed his eyes and took a step back. I think I was angry. Angry? Izuku turned and made way to the door, pausing at the exit and turning ever so slightly to answer. Angry that he ruined me. Toya wants to speak to you. Shoto paused where he was packing his school items slower than usual, making him to be the last person in the room. Toga stood in the doorway while twisting her hand nervously. Please, he really, really wants to. He said that he'll buy you soba. Shoto stared blankly while he pressed his textbook against his chest. Why? Because, Toga cried. You're brothers. Don't you want to talk to... No. Why would he want to talk to me? No one likes to talk to me. Toga tilted her head. Huh. I didn't know you were on about that, but... She reached around and Toya practically was thrown into the room, and the door was slammed shut, and the last sight of Toga was some pink-haired girl smiling proudly, giving another fist bump. Shoto kept his eyes on the ground as he shifted his weight to foot. Toya cleared his throat awkwardly as he took a seat on a nearby desk. Hey, Shoto. Shoto didn't respond, resisting the strange urge to shake his hand back and forward, instead of standing like a statue. I know you're probably really mad I left, Toya began quietly. I wouldn't want to talk to me either if I were in your shoes, but I don't understand what happened between you, Nat, and Fumi. Why? Why do they think it's your fault? Shoto picked up his head and looked properly at his brother for the first time, his blue eyes heavy and full of exhaustion. None of it was your fault, Toya continued. I don't know why our asshat of a father has convinced you, but none of it was your fucking fault. Got it? Shoto wasn't sure if Toya was just saying that to make him feel better, but was most likely the truth. What did Natsuo and Fumi tell you? What did Natsuo and Fumi tell you? They're trying to avoid the topic on our old man, I think, so I didn't get much information out of them. It's mainly me talking. And what did you say? Toya exhaled gently. I said that I left because I had no choice. Dear old dad hated me because I stopped following his little rules, so he threw me out and faked my death, apparently. Threatened me, told me if I came back, then Mom would become my responsibility, her bills and all. For obvious reasons, I wouldn't be able to pay that, so I had to leave. Shoto tried not to flinch as he mentioned his mother. He instead drummed his fingers against his knee and spoke even quieter than before. I always thought you weren't dead. So did Natsuo. And Fumi? I think she was too tired to hold on to hope. Toya hummed. Are you mad at me? Why would I be mad at you? Because I left? A pause. It wasn't your fault. And it wasn't yours either. Toya said forcefully. So why the fuck is Natsuo thinking it's something to do with you on why I left? Shoto actually did flinch that time. He did hunch his shoulders onto himself. Because it is. It isn't. Toya slammed a fist against the desk. Look, I know we weren't very super close or anything, but nothing about this is... Dad stopped liking you because he liked my quirk better. Shoto bursted back. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have kicked you out. I would have eventually escaped on my own. And you don't do anything about your fucking quirk. The only solution to would have been to never been born or die. Shoto! The younger boy... The younger boy stared... The younger boy stared out the window as his older brother was breathing heavy. Don't say things like that, Shoto. Sorry. It was silent again, as Toya rubbed his face. Look, alright. Neither of us chose to be put in that position. I hate it. I know you do too. I don't know what anyone has been telling you, how Dad has manipulated you, but it's not true. I did not leave because of you, Natsuo, or Fumi, or even Dad, because I didn't leave. I was forced out. Is that understood? Shoto shrugged and heard the chair scrape against the ground, followed by footsteps until Toya crouched down, tilting his head so Shoto was forced to face him. I said, is that understood? This is not your fault. Okay. Okay. Good. Are you going to come home now? It slipped out before Shoto could bite his tongue. Toya's eyes widened ever so slightly until he laughed weakly. Sorry, kid. I wish I could, but I can't. You also can't tell Dad about me until everything with Mom is taken care of. Oh, right. Toya rolled his neck as he seemed ever so relaxed now. So, tell me about UA. I'm curious about how you've been. The white-haired man stood, and Shoto did the same, a frown quickly settling on his older brother's face. What? Shoto asked, a little self-consciously, smoothing out any wrinkles that he could find on his pants as his face felt a little warmer than usual. How tall are you? Shoto shrugged. Toya stepped a little closer and held a hand with a pinched expression, even trying to straighten his back to gain some height. How much did you grow? How the fuck are you taller than me? Shoto felt the corners of his lips tugging upward. You're just short. 5'9" is not short, it's average. I'm 5'9". Shoto turned his head away. And 3/4. Fucker, Toya said with no bite. Great. Now there you, a 15-year-old that's taller than me, and Hitoshi, who is also taller than me. Natsu is taller than you too, Shoto hummed as he pulled on his backpack. And Fumi's pretty close. You're patronizing me. I think you used that word incorrectly. Toya chuckled softly and rolled his eyes. Whatever, Slender Man. You're skinnier than me. Let me have this. Hawks covered his mouth as he flattened himself further into the closet, listening to the sound of footsteps around his apartment. He hasn't been answering his calls. The blonde listened carefully, knowing exactly where all the windows of his apartment were and which ones were closest. His fridge is too full. Hasn't been eating the meals. Meals? Could you even call them meals? The bastard's ignoring us, a familiar voice hissed. Like he can do better without us? He's completely dependent. Whatever. He'll come crawling back in 2 weeks' time. Keep an eye out for him. We'll catch him here eventually. Once you locate him, follow him even when he's on patrol. I want to have his every move charted. Hawks continued to bite down on his bottom lip to keep quiet, hands shaking tightly around his phone as he listened for the footsteps distance. Then his front door shut. Hawks didn't move. Instead, he turned his phone on, looking at the few contacts, thumb posing over Mirako. No, she's on patrol right now. He didn't want to bother. He didn't want to be a bother. Aizawa? With a long moment of hesitation, Hawks clicked on the contacts before he could back out and held the screen up to his ear, trying to stabilize his breathing. What if he was being tricked and the adults were standing in the kitchen? Would they force him back to the training institution? He didn't want to be stuck there again, alone in an empty room with restricted meals and sleep, and swear to God, if this is a butt dial, Aizawa? Hawks kept his voice quiet, watching to see if any shadows of feet passed his closet door. What? I'm in the closet. I know that. Because the commission came over to find me. Wait, how do you know I'm hiding in my closet? Aizawa breathed out slowly and cleared his throat. Not the point. And are you still there? Is that why you're whispering? Hawks hummed in confirmation. Alright, you don't need to hide. Nezu told me the details. You're not a minor anymore, meaning you have rights over your own body, is in entirety. If they try to force you back, then they're the ones committing a crime. You don't have to hide from them. Tell them to get out of your home. But technically, they own the apartment. So wouldn't they just kick me out? The line of silence for a moment, and Shota swore several times. Fuck, you're right. Okay. So, Toga. Izuku said stop touching his hair. Christ. So have they left yet? I don't know. Hawks admitted as he pulled his phone away momentarily to listen. It was quiet, but he was still anxious. I think so. But if they're still out there waiting for me, stop trying to light the stove on with your quirk. It's electric, you moron. Hawks blinked. What? Not you. You need to leave your hiding spot to find out. Hawks squirmed in his sitting position and made a similar whine. But what if they're still there? Mirako's on patrol and I can't call her. And Hawks? Aizawa sighed. Do you want me to come over and check if the apartment is empty? No, I'm not a baby. I don't need to. So you're gonna leave the closet? Hawks stayed silent. That's what I thought. Be there in 15. The phone hung up and Hawks wrapped his wings around himself, holding his knees to his chest and resting his chin on his knees. He didn't move until the door opened, and there was a sound of two people walking in, doors opening and closing until lights from his hallway made him flinch as his door was open. Look at you, Toya drawled in a teasing tone. Come on out now, Tweety Bird. No one's here except for Shota and I. Hawks accepted his hand extending to him and hung onto it like a lost child. Aizawa was standing in his kitchen with arms crossed. The apartment was turned over, just like it was when the adults came, and Aizawa frowned deeply. Do you ever clean up after yourself? That wasn't me. They came in looking through my stuff. Hawks mumbled in slight embarrassment. I'll clean it up now. Hawks rubbed his eyes as the black-haired man scratched his head. No, sorry, I didn't mean to be insensitive. The blonde hummed as jolted his feathers. Sorry to waste your time. It won't happen again. Toya rolled his eyes and wrapped an arm around Hawks' shoulders as he... Okay. Toya rolled his eyes and wrapped an arm around Hawks' shoulders as he tried to leave. Where are you flying off to now? The blonde blinked with confusion. To clean up? What do you mean? Stop being stupid. Aizawa huffed. Get in the fucking car. I know you can't cook and you're nearly as thin as Izuku. Let's go. I left the kids in charge since Azashi had papers to grade. I now think that was a mistake in leaving the three of them with an entire kitchen. Hawk shook his head. No, no, I don't want to be a butt. He shut up immediately when Toya grabbed a handful of his hair near the nape of his neck with care. Are you saying you don't want to hang out with me? That's not. Then it's settled. Aizawa turned. Let's go before my new house burns down. Hawks didn't argue as Toya tugged him along, his worries going away once he arrived at the lively atmosphere and many smiles. Yay, I'm done! Woo! Woo! Okay, so that's gonna be it. I will work on the next chapter soon. If you want to see more of this, you know what to do. Bye!